am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Hello, this is Spider-Dan of The Secret Balls here with Mike of Genuine Chit Chat at Forbidden Worlds Film Festival 2025, and we're looking at the ground-shaking Tremors. So we are here to talk about another absolute VHS cult classic, introduced again by the Forbidden Worlds legend Gale Ann Hurd, which she was an executive producer on, but did much more hard work because I think that was her first attempt at being one, and she was too hands-on because she likes to get stuck in and always has done with all of her work, and it shows. And this is a great film. It's a great festival film. It's fun. It's funny. It's got just this kind of 50s monster vibe.
35-year anniversary.
35-year, good shout as well. And yeah, just great fun. Got some incredible actors, incredible characters, lots of fun. I've seen it before and I've enjoyed it. I forgot how much I enjoyed it. Like it was nice to kind of re-engage with it. And again, a very popular franchise overall. And
Q&A with Gale Ann Hurd at the start, which we've got recorded as well. So we'll be releasing that in the future.
Yeah, we'll pop that out at some point in the future. But yeah, Mike, tell us what your experience on this big IMAX screen with this film for the very first time.
Yeah, because with all the films of Forbidden World, aside from Young Sherlock Holmes and Aliens, I've never seen any of these. So Dan is the veteran. You've seen most of these films.
Veteran.
And I've
been in the trenches.
Well, you've seen almost all the films, and it's your third time at Forbidden Worlds. It's my first time at Forbidden Worlds, first time at a film festival, and also first time seeing most of these films.
And you are nailing it. You are nailing it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All with your guidance. So Tremors, yeah. So I knew a bit about Tremors. I think it's a film my brother likes. I know that, and it's Kevin Bacon. So I knew Kevin Bacon was in it. I knew it was kind of like Jaws on land in a way. It's a monster. It's a monster that's kind of get you on land, and I know that you could hide on the rocks from them, and I knew its vibrations. I realize watching it now, I'm like, this is clearly Dune inspired, and I know that Dune is one of Gale Ann Hurd's favorite books.
She
said that in one of the Q&A. She's
sci-fi.
And if I'd have been clever, well, actually no, I think she revealed that after we spoke with her. But like, if I could ask her about that, like one of the Q&As, I could have gone, hey. But I feel like that'd have been cheeky. But she was given the script anyway. She didn't create the script. So it's like, I wonder if in her mind she's like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, kind of like redneck June.
Yeah, well, basically, redneck Earth June. But yeah, this film, I went in there thinking I'm probably going to enjoy this, and I did. Yeah. It's not groundbreaking. It's not like
quite literally is groundbreaking.
Yeah, but it's one of those films which is like, it's a really good movie because it's literally, you go in there going, I want a fun 90-ish minute, funny, fun, easygoing, but intense, like with tensity, liked horror film, like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It's a film where it would be suitable, I think, for most ages.
I mean, I was saying to Kinza, one of the volunteers, and speaking of veterans, she's been here every year.
Hoping to have an interview with her as well. So
yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that. And I was saying that it's not really like a gory horror film. The gore is actually because they just get pulled underground. The victims are just pulled underground.
Or the odd one is like left dead.
Yeah,
on the side without gory stuff.
Yeah, or you see the car that they were inside pulled underground. All the remains of that, but you don't see like their arms being like cut off and like
No, the gore is the creatures, their blood.
Yeah, when they explode and when their guts fly out. And again, it's not like blood. It's like orange.
Yeah,
bubbles and all that kind of gooey goodness.
Yeah, I mean, Tremors is technically a 15, but I would say it's really, I would say it's nowadays it's 12A. I would argue in 2025 it's a 12A.
Yeah,
I would say Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is closer to a 15 than this is.
Yeah, I'd
Because
agree.
of the swearing, because of the content,
animal abuse,
the flashbacks and that.
Yeah.
Oh god,
that's
but this film, I'd say this film is like, you don't want to show this to like a 10-year-old. Well, when I was 10, when I was 10, I could have watched this.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't show it to every 10-year-old.
No,
you wouldn't put it on like prime time.
I think my nephew could handle it. Yeah. But I don't think he'd necessarily enjoy it.
I think they might freak out about the idea of these things existing.
Yeah.
In real life, especially because in the film they never confirm where they came from. So it's like, well,
that was Gail Ann Hurd's kind of in joke, because the producers were like, "You've got to," and that was the same with Terminator. Like, where are the aliens coming from? They're like, "They're not aliens. They're from the future, of Earth." And they were like, "Oh, everyone needs to know this. Everyone needs to know this." And like I think like we spoke to her about world building at one point. I think in the Q&A she talked about world building in general, but that's something that she's very proud of and very intense and so good at. And I kind of like that this almost is like, no, we're not going to do that, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't really, it's the characters.
She said these are basically hillbillies or rednecks, and how would they know? And there's one little scene where each of the three main characters each guess. And it's like, it could be any of these.
Yeah.
But they don't, how would they know? There's no scientist that comes in and goes, actually, you find out that...
And that's the joke, is that the one scientist there is a seismologist, and they're like, yeah, tell us more. What do you think? And she's like, why are you asking me?
Yeah, she's like,
this is not my area of research.
I study earthquakes, not giant prehistoric, potentially alien earthworm things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, with multiple tongues that grab people. Like, how the hell would I... this is... I'm not even a biologist. That would really be biologist.
That's always a thing in like films. Like when a scientist is in it, even though they're in a specific field, they always seem to know about all the other forms of science.
Even though the vast majority of scientists know their one niche field.
Yeah.
We're seeing like doctors.
Yeah.
You've got GPs, which are general practitioners, which know general scratching the surface information, a little bit about most things.
Yeah.
But none of them are experts.
Yeah, like
you talk to a cardiologist, they don't know really specific things about bone breaking.
No.
They've got a medical school to know the principle of it, but they don't know the in-depth intricacies of like ankle cartilage. They don't know that because that's not the area of specialty. Yeah. So the three main characters in this is, you've got Kevin Bacon, who is Valentina. You've got Fred Ward, who is Earl, and then you've got Finn Carter, who is Rhonda.
Yeah.
I believe she's actually Heather's the...
I think so.
Is Heather the main? So all the pictures on IMDb are them much older.
Yeah.
It is Rhonda.
Rhonda. Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah. Sorry. So it's Rhonda, Val, Earl, which is Finn Carter. She's great.
Reba McEntire, the country and western singer. She has a main role. I think that song at the end is her song.
Oh, okay, yeah, because she's Heather. She's got a proper twang.
Yeah.
Generally a really strong Southern twang can grate on me, but I would say hers was just warm as a bit of Dolly Parton's.
Yeah, and you can kind of hear that kind of sing-songy vibe. I think she had her own show at one point, like a sitcom or something as well. So I think she's kind of like almost like a national treasure over there in the country and western community, as far as I know. And she plays one of my two favorite characters in the film, the two like Doomsday Preppers. I think it's Burt Gummer. I think the character, the lead guy. And I was like, these are amazing.
And by Michael Gross.
That was it, Michael Gross. Yeah, he's fantastic in the role and would come back for several sequels.
He's the reason basically the franchise stopped, because they kept doing, because he kept being involved, as you talk about. And they was like, these are getting so bad, I didn't want to be there. They were like, no, we can't make any more sequels to Tremors. Yeah.
And then they tried to do reboots. They did a pilot with Kevin Bacon in a small role. I think he was going to be the producer on it. Never got picked up, unfortunately.
They just need to, unfortunately, I know we're all kind of sick of this, but they just need to do a legacy sequel of Tremors where like Val has got a family or whatever, and they meet up with Fred and he's maybe got a family or whatever.
Unfortunately, Fred's died, so he won't.
Fred Ward's
dead.
I thought, because I was like, I haven't. Well, then they go, or maybe they go, because Earl passed away, it's the...
I think he is in 2. But Kevin Bacon is not.
No, but I think it'd be good if they did a legacy sequel, and if Finn Carter is around and wants to be Rhonda and stuff, they could almost be legacy sequel. They go on a road trip with their friends, and they go, because every year since Uncle Earl died, we go back to the place where I met your mum. I met your mum, and we go there, and perfection's built up a little bit more, so they can do a bit more big budget stuff. But again, legacy sequels, I think a lot of the time miss the point. But I think with horror stuff, a lot of the time it can work as long as you've got the right people behind it. But I think with this film, again, it's another small cast movie.
Yeah,
There's like at the start, there's about 15.
The population is 14 in the town, isn't it?
Well, exactly. So there's 15 characters in the film because Rhonda makes the 15th person. And then, in the first half hour of the film, minus spoilers, like half of them just die. And then the rest of the film is the last sort of 10 trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And they, people eventually get picked off because is part and parcel with the type of film. But like, it's a small cast because it's just this one, it's not even an American would call it a town. We would barely call it a village.
Yeah.
It's got like, what? 8 buildings?
I think you could describe it as like a bottle movie as well, because it is like one very, like, obviously films are in towns, but this is such a small town.
Yeah.
Quite like it's a set, basically. It's
100%.
It's like an old Western set.
We have service stations here bigger than
that, exactly.
Like literally, I mean, England, we're not doing big stuff.
And again, they're trapped in the one location. That's part of the plot, and it's how they manage to overcome these odds.
And I just think this film as well, where I think if you just saw the trailer and you knew how people describe it in elevator pitch, you would go, this is a dumb movie. But actually, there's not really many plot holes. There's not really any I can think of. Like, there's always that trope, and in horror films they do it constantly, and some of them make it work. Where you go, I'm in a haunted house. Why can't we leave the haunted house? Oh, we put all our money into the house, and I can't leave this house, Doris, because I'm here, and we need to stay here for the family because I've sunk all my money in here. Blah. But like with this one, it was like, no, we're trying to fucking leave. And every time they try to leave, it's not like, oh, they got persuaded back. They physically cannot leave the place. They literally can't.
They try leaving because they're just sick of the town.
Yeah, because there's nothing there.
And then they have to go back, and then they're like, oh, well, we found this. This could make us some money. We could do this. And then again, they try to leave because they find a serial killer. They find another dead body, and they're like, oh, it's a serial killer. We got to leave.
But because they're part of the town, the whole beauty of it is, again, the way they introduce the characters in this, I think is honestly a masterclass in horror films.
Yeah.
Because too often I find in horror films, especially things like Friday the 13th and some of the later Nightmare films, is it's like, here's the main characters, and in 10 minutes, one of them dies. You're like, I don't care about these people. In this film, though, it goes, right, here is 15, 20 minutes of explaining who these people are without going, my name's Val, and I like this. It goes, right, here's two people who do loads of odd jobs. They are quite resourceful, but they are kind of dim. And they basically are just sick of being in this tiny town. They want to go out and do stuff. And so the whole film, as you say, they try and leave, and then they see, why is that old man hanging to the electron pylon? We should help him because we're part of the town. Oh, sort him out, turns out he's dead. That's weird. Okay, now let's leave the town properly. Wait a minute, there's another dead person here? Well, now that's weird. Let's go back. Okay, now we've found that's the town's problem. Found 2 dead people, very weird coincidence. Now let's leave. We go to leave, landslide. You physically cannot actually leave now. And then the rest of the film is I'm going, the only other way out of this town is up the mountain. How do we get there? So even until the very last parts of the film, they're still trying to work out how to leave. But then instead of it being, I want to leave the town because I'm sick of it, it's, I want to leave the town because we need to escape these things that are getting us. So I just think it's so well done of the whole thing of filmmaking in films, which are only 90 odd minutes long, is instead of going, here's a bit about character, here's a bit about plot, here's a bit about the world, they just go, here's all 3 at once. And it feels organic and it's charming.
Yes. And this is what I was going to get on to. I think the chemistry and the character building and the establishing, again, of this world, the world building that the Gail brings to her projects. I also think what she does really well is what's the next obstacle? You know, we've overcome this, we've passed this, but what's the next thing? You know, like in Aliens where Hudson's like, oh, what the fuck, man? You know, gonna put her in charge. You know, but with this, they're going, oh, and there's moments where they're like, oh, no, we give up, or we're gonna go to sleep, or we're gonna rest, and now we've got this, and we're gonna do that. And I love the kind of the problem solving that goes into that, but just the little kind of quirks of the 2 leads, I think, just works so well. You feel like they've known each other for years, and they've got these little, they're doing the rock paper scissors stuff. They've got the
Earl pretty much always does scissors.
Yeah, almost always. And
so it's just if Val is going to do, is he going to do rock or try and double bluff him?
And also them even though, arguably, I think they're kind of almost like playing on the trope of the redneck and those kind of Smokey and the Bandit kind of films where, there's always like the dim, redneck and stuff and those kind of negative stereotypes. I think them learning and growing and getting better and more experienced and changing and the growth is really organic as well of these characters and how they develop and what they'll do and how they'll sacrifice, themselves to save other people.
Especially for Val, because Earl is more the older brother figure.
Yeah.
And he kind of knows he's like, I'm quite experienced, I'm not the smartest, but I kind of know what I'm doing. Whereas Val is a bit more heads in his way, he's like gung-ho.
Yeah.
And he's like, I only like women who are like this,
Yeah.
and I'm dumb, so I just got another. And then throughout the film, it's like, oh, I'm looking at women in the wrong way. I shouldn't look at only this narrow view, but also actually, although I may not be the certain levels of smart, if I have an idea, I should voice it, tell people. And a lot of the time, he's the one who or he has the idea, and then people go, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
And how will we do that? And he's like, I don't know how to do that, but here's the idea. And then it makes the rest of the cast useful.
Yeah.
Rhonda is a useful character. We talked about Battle Beyond the Stars, where the Delaney or whatever is useless in the film after like halfway mark.
Yeah, Darlene
Rhonda's the opposite. Although she says, I don't know.
Yeah.
Every time there's a problem, normally one of them says something, then another one adds to it, then another one adds to it. And there's every character at point, apart from Melvin, seems to be actually useful. But that's kind of the point of Melvin's character. He's a teenager who thinks he knows everything. But like that what works. And so you're invested in the characters, and by the halfway point, you don't want anyone to die because they're all adding something.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone just being, here's the comedic person, here's the here's the dickhead, here's the person who's just there just to be a joke. It's like they all actually, you can see how the community works before the film because of how they all add to it.
And they all like Walter Chang, who runs the convenience store. He's like, he's coming up with the names for the thing, and he's like, this is a marketing opportunity, and how do we do this? And they all do add something. Even the smaller characters like the Doctor and I think Nestor is the other guy. There's just each of them have like just a moment where you're like, I actually quite like this town and these characters and them coming together, and there's no like plot holes you mentioned and things like that. It's really strong, really solid, and I like that they kind of almost flip as well. Like Earl's like, we need to leave, we need to look at bigger and better opportunities out there, and then Val kind of turns around and says, no, that's what I think now, and then Earl's on the other side, so they keep kind of flipping and flopping, and but that is kind of almost like when you have friends and you have these conversations and you're kind of almost convinced but not quite convinced, and then some days you're like, well, I don't really feel like that, but I really feel like that now you convinced me the other day. And I think it is those relationships, like you said, the cannon fodder of horror films, and like Aliens is a great example where you some of the characters are assholes, but you know who they are, and sometimes they surprise you. And like Gorman surprises you.
Yes,
you could describe Aliens as the Gorman Massacre as well.
Well, yeah, that's what you said to me. Yeah,
but I think this is genuinely an absolute Galen Hurd love letter to Roger Corman and those type of films, and those kind, like those Smoky Bites of the Dust was her first film.
This is a Roger Corman film, but not shit.
Yeah.
To be blunt, this is the kind of film Roger Corman should have been making.
Careful what you're saying. There's a lot of Forbidden World Roger Corman fans.
I'm not saying
Galen Hurd might hear this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Roger Corman did a lot for cinema, and he definitely hasn't been recognised by the mainstream in a lot of ways he should. But of the films of his I've seen, I don't understand why he hasn't made films more like Tremors. The problem is with a lot of his films is they fall flat, and as I've said ad nauseum in our nearly hour-long Battle Beyond the Stars conversation, is that the frustrating part of the films I've seen of Roger Corman's is that most of it works, but the bits that don't work for me really ruin the experience, and they're really simple things.
Yes, yeah.
It's almost like he overcomplicates things when he knows it's on a shoestring budget rather than just trying to make things more simple. This film is like, how do you do things? Obviously, they had a great team. They had the two people that worked on, I think, Aliens. So they had two people who had like, James Cameron approved and Galen Hurd approved, people who are great at special effects, physical effects. And I think if the is it graboids?
Graboids, yeah.
If the graboid worm things, if they weren't done with practical effects and they didn't look and work the way they did, the film wouldn't work quite as well. Yeah. But I think it is really the ensemble cast. Although the actors may not be the big ensemble, it is the core of a horror film or horror adjacent like Jurassic Park. The way you have to make the films work is you only have to do two things. You have to make the threat real, and you have to make it so you care about the characters, because if there's a threat and you don't care about the characters, it doesn't matter. And that's what I really found with a lot of slasher films, and that's what I don't find about Scream. I find Scream, you do generally find you're interested by the characters, but like when I've watched the Friday the 13th films, or sometimes the Halloween movies and stuff like that, it's like, here's like 10 characters. I do not care about any of them.
No.
So when they're in a position where the baddie might get them, I don't actually care in any way.
I do think sometimes that is fun, to have really unlikable characters that you want to see killed off.
Yeah,
but yes, but
done
no,
for who you want to die. But I find sometimes with those Friday the 13th or Halloween films, sometimes it's not even like they're assholes, I want them to die. Sometimes it's like, I don't even know who you are.
No.
You're the jock, you're the sex crazed person, you're the nerd, but you're not. There's nothing to you. You're just you're a shell of a person.
Yeah, you're an archetype.
Exactly.
That is purely it.
And
you are here to be the archetype and to serve that purpose. Like we were saying with Battle Beyond the Stars, we don't get a lot of interplay. Like here, we get so much interplay between characters and so much development. But Battle Beyond the Stars is not one for that. It's like, they need to be this, they need to do this, they need to get to A to B. Maybe they'll have a conversation, but there was no like inner conflict or like, can't believe you're giving up, why would you do that?
You need to be invested.
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes it more tense, and it makes you, from the get-go, as you said, like literally the first scene, you watch Kevin Bacon finish pissing, and then him and Josh Ward.
Just like Waterworld again.
yeah. Him and Josh Ward, they have a conversation, and you immediately go, right, they're basically like brothers. They really love each other, but they give each other shit, and they're just doing odd jobs together.
Yeah.
And you immediately go...
You say Josh Ward, or...
Sorry, I might have said Josh Ward.
Fred Ward.
Sorry,
Ward.
I'm getting my wires. Yeah.
I didn't correct you on something else, Mike, so I'm correcting you now on this.
Always correct me.
I'm making you...
When it's names of people, always correct me.
Fred Ward.
It's because it's Josh Gad. That's why. That's my brain went...
Did you confuse Josh Gad and Fred Ward?
Because the way I remember names is by how they're written down, because I'm a visual person.
Okay.
So names, and also, it's quite late.
Sure.
And we have watched...
We've
watched technically...
I would normally ignore this, but you told me to do it. You told me to correct you.
We have to also remember, friends, we watched this film today, granted, but before we watched this film, we watched 15 short films.
Yes. Which we will get to. It'll be
one of the last things we do, but that's going to be a very big podcast.
15 different...
15 short films, then a 20-minute Q&A with Gail and Hurd, then Tremors for the first time, then Orca, and then She Creatures.
Yeah.
And it's over past 1 in the morning, so my brain is frazzled.
Yeah, we're all gone.
But this film really, I wasn't pleasantly surprised, because from everyone I know, I don't know anyone who doesn't like this film.
Yeah.
I know people who go, yeah, it wasn't necessarily for me, but no one says Tremors is bad.
Yeah.
It's because it's a good film.
I haven't seen it for a very long time. I couldn't remember everything about it. I remember key moments, usually when the graboids died, but I remember really enjoying it. Like even on a distant memory, I was like, I remember really enjoying that.
Yeah.
But I went in and I was like, of course I loved this. I would have loved it then. I love it now.
And the best thing, 4 graboids, I won't spoil anything further, but there's 4 graboids. Obviously, by the end of the film, this is technically a spoiler, but in films like this, by the end of the film, all of them are dead. But what's great about it is that the way they defeat each one is different.
Yeah.
Rather than it being, we've figured out the solution. Yeah. And they think they do at points, and then it doesn't work.
That's what I mean.
Exactly. It's
overcoming these different obstacles. Oh, we can beat you in this way, but we're not going to do it because
we can hold.
And they say how smart they are as well.
Yes.
The worms are learning, and the characters are learning.
Yes.
And they're like, these things are smarter. And that's the kind of the stereotype, is they're like, oh, the dumb hillbilly or the dumb monster.
Yeah.
And they're both like, no, which is like Aliens as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Which, very similar, a lot of similarities there, of these characters learning and developing their skills and applying that information and using their smarts as opposed to their firepower, or, what machines they're able to use necessarily, or what guns or bombs they have.
Yes.
And I think that is kind of key to what Gail loves about cinema and these kind of stories and comic books and the things she loves. And
the last thing I'll say on this, because I think we pretty much got to the end without just saying the whole plot, is I just think the graboids, I knew about them anyway, and you've seen the iconic poster, but the graboids are really original in an idea.
Yeah.
And I think, and again, when you first meet them, you think, oh, there's lots of little worm things, but actually they're like the tongues of these bigger creatures. And I'm like, that's a really unique idea. And it works really well. And throughout the plot, when you're learning with the characters, it makes it interesting. And then when you realize what these things are, you still don't really know what they are, but it's just, they're a unique beast. And I can see why there's loads of sequels of it, but I can also see why, with there being loads of sequels, they would suck. Because I'm like, if you don't have really interesting characters throughout, it would be boring. And also, it's like, how many different ways can you kill these things?
Yes, true.
That's going to be. So
Yeah,
I have no real interest. I'll probably never watch the sequels to Tremors because everyone basically says they're all just worse than the original. But if someone said to me, like, if you said, look, no, Tremors 2 is actually brilliant, they do a lot of different cool things, I'd probably give it a go. But no one says it. They go, yeah, they changed the graboids a bit. There's an odd character who returns here and there, but actually, it's diminishing returns.
Yeah, I think with the Q&A, they said that this and the Child's Play Chucky series are the most kind of sought after on DVD and Blu-ray and
by Universal,
from Universal for the properties they own. I wanted to say as well, I think it was Ron Underwood, I want to say the director's name.
Yeah.
So he introduced it as well as a video introduction, and he was like, you were talking about how excellent the special effects were, but he's going like, oh, this is my first feature, I couldn't really get the effects to look the way I wanted.
I thought it looked amazing,
and they look incredible, and they look great, and they've got I think it's a very simple effect, but the rippling of the ground effect when they're digging, I think looks great. It really works.
I was worried it was going to look shit because is this the reason it's class a B movie?
Yeah.
Because the director introduced it saying, the effects don't look as good as I thought, and I was like, oh, this is why I've not seen this film before, because the effects aren't going to be good. But I was like, no, the effects look really good.
But that's the perfectionist in him,
right.
You know, and that's what Gale said to him, and that's what he describes. He goes, you know, we've just got to do the best we can with what we've got and how we can do it, as long as the movie looks good, and let's try and make the best movie, and let's make the best out of these bad situations or the things that aren't quite working, and see what we come out with. And this is an absolute success. The audience have demanded it year on year on year, and Ty and the rest of the organisers,
isn't it like top 3 most requested films?
I think Ty was like, it was like Aliens, The Thing, Tremors, The Thing, Aliens, The Thing. You know, that's how he described it to us, and I was like,
So fingers crossed, John Carpenter comes next. The only way we'll get to watch The Thing, I think, at Forbidden Worlds is if either John Carpenter or one of the major people involved.
Kurt Russell. Can you imagine Kurt Russell?
I think it'd be easier to get John Carpenter.
True. No, there is that. But again, those are the dreams. Those are the big dreams.
We're hoping to help in any way we can with Forbidden Worlds.
And they will try. There is no way that they will never not try to get those kind of people, the A-listers, the stars. But I love it. I love all those video introductions that we get, because it's such a wonderful little exclusive that you get to experience for the first time.
100%, especially when I've not seen these films. It gives me a little gateway in, but also a little thing to look out for, and you get extra stuff. But like, again, you know, this was such a fantastic experience, a great movie, and you know, Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, we're so thankful for them to allowing us to be press. We're so much fun being able to watch all the films again. Even if we weren't press, we would still be doing podcasts like this, because it's so much fun. It's a great community. Everyone there is so friendly, and the more we're there every day, people even more friendly.
We believe in the ethos. We love the vibe.
We want
love the
to
community.
help. We want to use our platforms in any way we can to help propel Forbidden Worlds in any way we can. They got Gale and Her this year. Let's help them get more and more great individuals for more opportunities and more great video introductions, because it's the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival is a passion project. This is not something which is like Amazon's created a film festival and Amazon's making loads of money. This is Dave and Ty. Dave owns a video shop. I don't know what Ty does outside of Forbidden Worlds, but it's literally like they do this where they don't really make profit from it. The money they make keeps the festival running, they can keep making the festival.
They'll be awake right now doing stuff, preparing, setting up things for tomorrow, 100%. Talking to people, getting the Q&A ready for the stars of young Sherlock Holmes. They're doing that.
Dave is the projectionist.
Yeah,
like one of the 2 main people who have put together Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. One of them is the guy who's the projectionist for every feature. You know, and it's they're organising this.
We've spoke to him twice, and we've been here 4 days now. 4 out of the 5 days. You know, which is mental. Like, we've just not seen him, and he's been that busy. And you know, when we try to organise seeing him, but you know, things like this don't always happen because people are so busy. We're so busy. And Ty's so busy. And
after the events, we're like, we're going home, and we need a rest. Like, there's the gaps in between. We're like, we need a break from this. And we're just watching movies and talking to people. But we've got some really, really cool stuff planned. We've got a couple more reviews to record now. But also tomorrow's going to be a really fun day. We're hoping to get a few more interviews in and more fun stuff to come. But again, if you're listening to this, obviously follow myself, Genuine Chit Chat, on any social media place. Follow Spider Down the Secret Balls at any place. But if you don't want to follow us, please follow Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. This is what this is about. These reviews are obviously, we love doing this. We want you guys to support our podcasts, but actually this is about Forbidden Worlds Film Festival.
It's not the point.
Yes,
exactly. That's what we're here for. We'll tag everybody we can and all the information. If you've seen us, if you've said hello to us, send us links.
Reach out, comment, DM, all that kind of stuff. Anyway,
if you have a video or a photo of us, send it, what have you. But yeah, it is. We generally believe in this message, and that's what we're here for. It's not about self-aggrandization or any of that. We're here to help, and like we said, even if we were on the press team, we'd be doing the same thing. I did it the first year. I was on the press team. Just missed out narrowly, and they were so gracious and kind about it. And I said, "Do you mind if I still record? It's fine if I still." And they were like, "Yeah, absolutely, please do," and which is exactly what I did. And luckily I was able to get the opportunity last year and have the opportunity again this year with Mike, and bringing Mike on board has been it's just, I don't think we wouldn't have accomplished what I would have wanted to accomplish, or done the kind of things we've done this year, which have been incredible, without Mike being here. He's been absolutely indispensable as a podcasting partner and just a partner in the press team and using this event. So,
and I won't be here for Spider-Man either.
Yes,
so we're both equally important in this press partnership and in this podcast partnership to bring you guys all the content that we can and be honest about it. Again, there's some films we're going to be tackling and films we have tackled. I haven't been much of a fan of. No, but the festival is still great. We need more independent film festivals, especially in the UK. And again, it's helping the Bristol economy, it's helping the Bristol community, and it's helping film in general. So please support Forbidden Worlds. Please support and follow Genuine Chit Chat. And please support and follow Spider Down the Secret Wars.
And experience these films in a whole new way in this community settings where you can laugh and cry and be scared like I was during Aliens.
I'm not sure any of these films make people cry, but yeah.
I mean, it depends how bad they are. Some of them.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
So, but yes.
Well, thank you, friends.
Thank you. And we'll go and record the next one of these, and we will see you very, very soon.